Bolts Nation, welcome back to the Bolts Block Party. I am your host, Greg Wolf, of course, joined by the always effervescent Brayden Coburn. And man, we finally got him. We finally locked him down. It's only taken 4 years of the Bolts Block Party. The most elusive guy on the team is finally here. Kobe, I don't know how we got him. I know how we got him. You threatened to burn down his favorite Subway. But Brayden Point finally joins the Bolts Block Party. Pointer, it is amazing to have you, man.
Yeah, good to be here. Good to be here.
Subway, we have to talk about it right now, right off the rip.
Sure.
What's the love and the affection for Subway sandwiches?
Just always have loved it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they're delicious. I think it's one of those foods where I could eat it every day.
And do you eat it every day?
I don't eat it every day, but I do eat it a lot. Just always have, just growing up. Yeah, even in junior high and stuff, I always had it for lunch and loved it ever since.
What's your go-to sandwich?
Oven roasted chicken.
Okay.
Oven roasted chicken. Yeah.
Like loaded? Or like veggies or like your mayo?
Yeah, I load it up pretty good.
Okay.
Whole wheat bread, toasted cheese, spinach.
You walk in and you're like, hey, Jimmy,
the usual. I'll get the usual.
Yeah. Just like cheers. Everybody knows your name when you walk in. Well, they should know your name, but
at this point, yeah, right?
So we talked to Brad Hagel, and we asked Hagel, hey, what do you like to do in Tampa? He's like, me and my girl, we like to go for a walk, and then maybe like Subway. Is that your idea? You and Sid, is that your idea of a big date night?
Big date night to Subway.
Yeah,
treat her nice. Yeah.
Or you go a step above Hagel. Like Hagel's kind of
I try to, if it's a date night, I try to go a little bit more than the Subway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take the trip real quick, Pointer, because we haven't had a chance to really delve into your journey, so to speak. Growing up in Canada, obviously playing for the Moose Jaw Warriors, which Kobe told me if you've never been to Moose Jaw, when you enter the city, there's a massive moose.
Yeah, huge moose.
Huge moose.
Yeah.
But take us on the journey, from the Moose Jaw Warriors to finally getting, signed here and the whole come up process and how that's been for you.
Sure. Yeah. First played in Moose Jaw in my 15-year-old year season. Played midget AAA, and then once that year was done, you're allowed to get called up, and got called up there and played the last 10 games, I think, 8 games maybe of the regular season, and then actually played the playoffs, which was awesome. We went to the Eastern Conference Finals, lost to the Oil Kings, and then my next year was my 16-year-old year, and I got more of a role that year, and then played there from 16 to 19. Mm-hmm. I guess drafted at 17 by Tampa, but then finished up as a 19-year-old. All right, let's go back again. Actually, at 18, I played a little bit in Syracuse, which was a big eye-opener for me. Yeah, to see kind of how strong and fast the game was at the AHL level, and like I say, big eye-opener for me to really try to improve and gain some strength. So took that knowledge into my 19-year-old year, and then at 20 played in Tampa.
Well, let's go through that. Also, you also won the gold, silver, and bronze in the juniors as well. You had a chance also to play with your older brother Riley.
Yeah, I did. I did. Actually, that was
right?
my first ever junior game. He was playing for Camor Eagles, and I got called up to play with them, and he actually assisted on my first ever junior goal.
Amazing.
So it was a really cool moment.
Really,
yeah.
Are you and Riley like similar type players, or what?
He's a little more hard nosed than I was.
So was he out there to kind of protect
you a little bit? A little more check-in. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was. It was my brother and Riley Reinbold who actually played Moose Jaw before he went to the AJ.
Yeah.
And those two guys assisted on my first ever junior goal. So it was a really cool moment, really cool game. My dad was in the crowd, so it was a really special moment.
Yeah, talk to me. What about your dad? And Kobe and I were
talking.
We
were at Grant, your dad.
GP, man.
I wanted to bring it up because I just I remember meeting your dad. I think it was one of the dad's trips, and we got talking, and he's like, yeah, you should come out to, because I was living in Calgary. You're a Calgary guy. Yeah. You should come out to one of our skates that I hold. And I was like, man, I don't know. Like, your dad doesn't look like exactly the most athletic guy. Friendly, really friendly. Your dad's concrete paving guy.
Asphalt, asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, summer rolls around and your dad calls me, or I think you called me and was like, hey, we're going to have a skate so-and-so this time, and showed up. And I got to say, like, I understand, where you developed your skills and because he was very meticulous with his practice. It was really good practice, great skills. There were some unbelievable players that were out in the skates.
We have a good group there.
The skates, like, what can you contribute to that? Like, do you have do your dad have a huge part in your career? Obviously, he did. But talk about your dad a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Huge. He was my coach growing up for a lot of years, and I think he sees the game really well. He understands the game, and I think he understands how to motivate, and that was big for me growing up. But he cares about it. He takes a lot of pride in learning the game and researching. And I think when we're doing drills with him, I think he's always got a good idea of what the drill is actually translating into a game. And I think even as a young kids, he had that. We weren't just out there to skate. It was the drills he did were always working on something and working on skills. They were very purpose driven, and I think that just comes from. He's a guy that does see the game.
Yeah, and he would explain it to you too. Be like, when we're doing this, and then I was kind of like thinking there, I'm like, man, I've been playing in the league for a long time, and he's kind of explaining things to me that I didn't expect him to understand.
Yeah,
especially because he wasn't really like he played a little bit of hockey.
Yeah, he played some hockey growing up, and then
but he's just a student of the game.
But
right?
he's a student of the game, and I think if you have that hockey mind and you see the game, you can kind of understand what skills and drills are going to, like I said, are going to translate. So, obviously really big for my career.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be here without him, but
he's coached like all kinds of players. I remember coming out one time and, seeing this young kid out there, 15 years old, skating with them. And I'm like, your dad's talking to him and working with him. And, we're working as a group. 15-year-old Cale Makar.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like looking at this kid and he's 15. I'm like, man, this kid could play in the league right now. But at the time I really didn't know who he was or realize, the potential he was going to get to. But, I guess your dad's just, does he still do that? Like, do you guys still work together in the summer and you got a lot of guys?
We still do have a group that comes out and skates. Cale's a part of that group, and he's a great guy to skate with because he's just, I find if there's a rabbit to chase, it only helps the group, right? And obviously how talented and skilled he is. When he's out there, he just ups the level of the skate. So it's great to skate with him. But yeah, going back to my dad, he just loves it. He loves coaching. He still does it. He still helps out in the summers with different groups and younger kids, older kids, and he just loves it. I don't know if he'll ever give it up.
I remember him telling me a story about you. He said, we'd go on a hockey trip. Brayden would get in the car, put his head down, immediately fall asleep. And, we'd roll into the parking lot and his head would show up. Yeah. He said you were just infamous for sleeping in the car nonstop.
Yeah.
As soon as we started rolling. And I said, well, Pointer seems like a pretty mellow guy. Would he ever get mad? And he's like, he only got mad one time. He didn't remember to put, I always put the onus on my kids to make sure they put their hockey equipment in the car.
Yeah.
And he said, we got to wherever we were going, wherever the game was, and Pointer realized he forgot the equipment.
And that was a bad one. That was a bad one.
No.
That was a bad one. That, as a kid, I think, as a parent, you probably understand someone forgetting a shin pad or an elbow pad or, something like that. But to forget the whole bag,
right.
like that's a pretty big.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big miss when you're going to a hockey game to forget literally everything. So
I'm assuming you were like the best player in the team too. So you kind of like
we had the thing about my dad is he always got us there early. We always showed up early, and he made time for that. So we did have time to drive back and get it and drive.
So did that translate to you? Are you, because I know you're known for being early to all your meetings and anything we got going
he's like
on.
that guy that literally shows up right at that time. So
that's something I wish I got from my dad is being punctual. But I try not to be late. I try to be there on time.
Yeah, like right on time.
Right on time.
Right on time.
That's a skill. Like
jumping on the bus as the doors are closing.
Yeah, I will
it's
say
rolling
that's
out.
Rarely late, but always pushing it. That's that's me.
I mean, the naps I've heard is probably your favorite thing to do off the ice. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I like a nap. I like a nap. I'm trying to nap less and less now, but still game day.
Of course.
Off days I try not to.
Okay.
I think I try to enjoy the day more than rather than sleep.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure.
Sleep it away, but I still game day for sure.
Well, moving along from the youth days, up now to the pro level, I did find that this is a very interesting tidbit, folks, that on October 18th, 2016, you actually recorded your first NHL shootout goal, which was your first attempt against James Reimer of the Panthers. In doing so, Pointer became the 27th player to score in the shootout before actually scoring their first career goal. Mm-hmm. And then additionally, you became the 13th player to get the shootout decider also before your first goal, which was 2016, November 6th, assisted by Kucherov. Did you know that stat, that you actually scored your first
I did know that. Yeah, I did know that because the reporters after the game asked me about it. Yeah, asked me about it. And I don't know if that's a great stat.
It's an interesting one
because it means you haven't scored in the game.
Right.
But it was pretty cool. I was surprised that I went. I can't remember what round it was in, maybe 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
Was when I got to shoot. But it was just cool to, kind of.
I think I was right after you. If you didn't score, I was going, I think. So.
But I think that was cool just because it was your first or my first kind of moment to contribute in the game.
Sure.
Kind of help the team win. So that was really cool.
So are personal milestones, is that a driving force for you, or is it more about the bigger picture? I mean, because everybody's different. Is it more about winning cups, or over your span of your career, obviously, with Stammer just hitting the 500 goals, 1,000 points, are those things important to you in the duration of your career?
I wouldn't say I look that far ahead. I think winning now is probably the mindset of everyone, right?
Sure.
I think you do the best you can in the moment, and if milestones come, they come. That's kind of what I found. They're not big milestones, but you start hitting,
of course,
certain numbers, and they just kind of, you keep doing your thing, and you kind of just hit them.
Right.
I don't know if that was the same with you, Cole, but say for games, right? Like
games played, you
just keep going, and then all of a sudden, hey, in 6 games,
it's a milestone.
I'm hitting something.
Yeah.
So I think you just try to do the best you can in the moment, and then if God willing, those things come.
I feel like he's more of a blue collar guy, Kobe. You feel like Pointer's more of a blue collar dude, or?
I get that impression. Yeah.
Okay.
I get that impression. Yeah.
So I've heard you have a very interesting way of taking off your suit when you get to your locker. So
I've changed that actually.
Oh, you have? Because Kobe's, he gave us a pretty interesting visual of how you get your suit, like your jacket off with the shirt still in it, so that when the game is over, it's almost like you put on a superhero costume.
Yeah. I used to do that. I've gotten away from that.
Give us the process. I mean, we'll go back to it. What was that process? You literally keep the shirt buttoned, or what?
No, I unbutton the shirt and then you just take it off all at once.
So the shirt is
the
sleeves stay in
the jacket.
Yeah, the sleeves stay in the jacket.
Sometimes it would be and then an interesting way of hanging it up. It was usually just kind of thrown in the locker.
yeah, exactly.
Just kind of. He's got an anti-wrinkle suit, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Yeah, the best was if we were in a colder climate.
Yeah,
because then you'd have the pea coat too.
Oh, you get the 3 layers at once.
The triple layer all at once.
It's actually genius, man.
I never saw anyone do it. And then one day I was sitting in there, and you're taking your stuff off, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Time saver.
It's actually genius if you think about it. I mean. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable to come up with that strategy.
So do you embrace that old school, because I would describe, and a lot of people have described you as kind of a throwback, an old school kind of attitude, not necessarily how you play, but just your demeanor around the rink and off the ice. Is that something you are aware of, or is that something you embrace, or has that always just been you?
No, I didn't really think about it. I just try to do things how I would do them, what's comfortable for me, I guess.
Yeah. Because you're like a low maintenance guy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I just
I've seen trainers begging you to hey, Pointer, you gotta retape your stick, or we gotta cut you a new stick,
Yeah.
And you're like, nah, I'm good.
If it's
old school stuff.
Yeah, I don't I don't like, especially with gear, I don't like changing it up much. I don't find the need to, really. Okay. I like when stuff's broken in.
Yeah.
The tape and the stick I've gotten better at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the curve?
Well,
I used to be pretty bad.
I remember when you first came to the league, you had like a Drury curve, right? Like a
Ginla.
A Ginla.
Yeah,
it was kind
really
of like a heel.
Yeah, really pretty
like
straight. No, it was pretty straight.
Okay.
I didn't have the upshoot one. I had the Ginla, which was pretty straight.
And I remember we were it was the summertime, and you got a mold, like a plastic mold.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were sitting around, and you were kind of tweaking around with it, and all of a sudden you just take it and you stepped on the toe, and you just kind of bent it, and then you looked at it, and all of a sudden you have this like hook on the end.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I think that'll do. And I remember sitting there just horrified as a stick nerd. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Going back, but actually, I had the Sakic actually when my first year. I used a Ginla in junior, and then my first year I decided I would switch it. My first year in the NHL,
It was a drastic change.
I decided to switch it up. No, but that was to the Sakic, and then my next year I didn't like that. So what happened with that mold is I got Warrior to send me an Ginla curve.
Yeah.
That was an inch longer and a couple inches taller, and I played with Scheifele in the World Championships that year, and he kind of had that toe curve idea, and I thought I'd want to try it. So I got them to send me the same blade I had, but an inch longer, and then I would just turn the toe and see how that worked for me. So my curve that I use now was hand molded.
Okay. It's
hand molded by me.
It's a unique curve.
And what is the reasoning for that? Like, what are you trying to find when you're trying to find that right curve? What are you trying to find?
With that, I just like that there's a good section of it that's flat, so you can kind of handle the puck on both ways.
Okay.
You know, and then at the end, kind of that toe to help you pull it and kind of get some release on your shot.
Which I think we saw that in its glory the other week when you deked through the entire team and just the skill, like
It's working.
it's working, whatever it was. Thank you, because it is absolutely working.
We're not
man.
switching you.
Yeah.
Are you more of a fishing guy, a hunter guy? I mean, obviously we'll talk about the Crocs here in a second, but I mean, what do you prefer more? Obviously, we live in a great area here in Tampa with fishing and outdoor activities, but like, what's more your speed?
Yeah, you know, I wear a lot of camo, but I don't really. I
don't
don't
really
hunt.
do either.
I don't hunt. I do enjoy fishing actually.
Sure.
I don't do it a whole lot, but I do enjoy. I'm no good at it.
Okay.
I remember, like, if the fish is small enough that all I have to do is just reel it in.
If it's in a bucket.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But if the fish is just small enough, and there's no technique or skill involved, I can do that.
Okay.
But at Coop's Catch
Yes.
a couple years back, my line kept hitting big fish.
Okay.
And I wasn't
Too
good.
much work.
I wasn't good enough to set the hook or to let them out and reel them in. Yeah, so that part I'm not good at, but I do enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's relaxing
Cooch
out
and
there.
Vassy, they're huge fishermen, right? Like they've kind of developed that a little bit.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I know Cooch has gotten really into it. But yeah, I think just more being out on the water.
Yeah.
It's a relaxing thing. Whether I get a bite or not I'm not living and dying on that. I think just being out there is fun.
No doubt. All right, so let's talk about the Crocs, man. So I have a fan question here. They wanted to know, do you have a lifetime supply of camo Crocs? And what formality level of an event does it have to be before you switch to another type of footwear?
Well, that one, it goes pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to get too high class to switch out of the Crocs. I think these are pretty casual. Lifetime supply, no.
You need an endorsement, Crocs.
This is the only pair I've ever bought, actually.
Wait, that's them right there.
That's them. Got them.
I mean, they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I mean, I got them.
You should auction those off for charity.
I don't know how many years ago, but
you don't understand. People would pay good money for these Crocs. If you signed your Crocs, the only pair he's worn, that's gonna get top dollar.
Like hanging it on the mantle.
Whatever.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know where.
wall.
I don't know where he displays
Put it on a
those.
display case.
Our fans will find a place to put them in their caves, man. So we talked about Subway naps. We talked about, here's another great question from a fan. All players in our building seem to migrate towards the kids around the glass during warm-ups, and that type of interaction can inspire the next generation of hockey players. As a kid, Did you have any of those types of interactions at games, and did they fuel your desire to play? And if so, who were the player or players that you remember that provided you those memories?
I remember one big one, actually. We got tickets to, me and my dad, from a friend of ours to, I was a big Canucks fan growing up, and it was an exhibition game against the Flames. And we got tickets to that game, and
that's like sacrilegious, by the way, living in Calgary, being a Canucks fan.
yeah. I was
boy.
a huge Marcus Naslund fan.
Okay.
So that's why I was a Canucks fan. It was an exhibition, so he wasn't in, but I got seats right beside the glass, right where the players walked out to go to their bench.
Yep.
And I remember, banging on the glass as they walked by, every period,
Of course.
I was just looking for, I was just pumped to be there, right? And I'll never forget it. In the third period, as they're walking out, Alex Auld was backing up that night. So I'm banging on the glass, and he just gave me two bumps back on the glass, and that made I never forget it. It was lights out for me. Became a huge fan of him, obviously. So knowing that, I know it doesn't take much to to make a memory for someone or to inspire someone. So I try to keep that with me, and that was a really cool moment for me growing up.
I love that.
I love it. I got one too.
Okay.
I was same building in Calgary.
Saddle Dome, baby.
It was.
Is that the can, the crush can, or is that different?
That's
building?
a moose jaw.
That's the moose jaw.
That's gone,
That's
man.
gone, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was in Calgary, young kid. We were down by the tunnel. Pittsburgh Penguins are playing. Mario and Jaromir Jagr
Oh boy.
are in the building, and it was the Jaromir Jagr mullet days.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I was on like the little tunnel, and Jagr was kind of going through, and he was kind of hitting hands. And right before he was supposed to like hit my hand, somebody from like kind of behind me goes,
Oh boy.
Jagr, you and your hair, blah, blah, blah. And then Jagr looked up and just like put his head down and walked to the tunnel. And I remember just tears just like flying down my face.
Poor Kobe.
But
Brutal.
yeah,
I'm sorry. You need a hug?
I do.
I'll give you one.
But the funny thing is I ended up playing with Jaromir Jagr later in my career.
There you go. So
Along with like probably 10,000 people that he's played with in the last 40 years now. That he's been playing.
Right.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that guy's amazing, man. He is definitely the Iron Man. Now, goal songs. You don't have one.
No.
Is that by choice? Or if you could have one, what song would it be?
Yeah, that's by choice.
Okay.
I think it would just get in my head
Okay.
that if I switch it, I would think I had to score it. I don't know. I just the team one's good for me. Yeah, I like the team one.
Team one's
you know.
good.
So talking to music, I remember we were in New York. Shaddy set it up. We went to a concert. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh yeah.
And they were playing like 80s, 90s, mostly 90s.
Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Okay.
And
Rock or like hip hop?
It's like everything.
was a little bit of
every
everything.
genre.
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was a
kind
little
of
bit of
everything.
everything.
It was really fun. It was good atmosphere. And I remember standing beside Pointer, and you know the words to every song. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. And stuff that was way before you were born, and like not just like you knew the words.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah. Just a big. I'm a big music guy.
Okay.
I like listening to for lyrics. I like listening to the lyrics. I like learning the story of the song. So
Interesting.
Lyrics are big to me. And then if I find a song, I'll just keep playing it. And then I end up just
So
learning the
all
lyrics.
across the board, country, rock, hip hop. I mean, or is
I
there
do like a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I like. I think rock would probably be my country too.
Sure.
Would probably be my two big ones, but I do like.
They were playing like Blink 182,
Yeah, like
and
I
you
do
like
like
knew
those
all of them.
classic stuff.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
mean,
sure what you call that kind of stuff, but I do like. I do like a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Okay. Is that what you're listening to on game days, or are you pretty much like what's your game day ritual like? Obviously, we know when you get into the building, but like, do you have any specific rituals or superstitions or things that you stick to every single game?
Yeah. Once I'm at the rink, I have a lot. I think a nap would be the big one. That's one I don't like to miss that one.
Sure.
Once I get to the rink, I do a lot of things at a certain time. Superstition or more or just
Game day rituals.
ritual, I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
If I miss one, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
But they're rituals that just I think they help you feel comfortable
Yeah.
going into
Is
the
that
game.
every player for the most part, you feel?
I would say that, if you play a couple of years or whatever, I think you would find a routine that works for you.
Yep.
I'm sure you're the same, Kobe, right?
It's the same way. It just kind of prepares your body and your mind,
Yeah.
and it's just like something
the
that
mindset.
familiar with.
Sure.
And yeah, it's tough sometimes. Something happens and your routine and your rituals get all mixed up.
Yeah.
And that's it can be stressful on guys. Like I know it was for me. If things didn't go a certain way, it kind of throw me off a little bit.
Understandable. I mean, another thing, I think, not that you fly under the radar by any means, because I think that's not doing you any justice here, but do you feel that playing in the NHL, playing with Tampa Bay Lightning, when you're playing with guys like Stamkos, Kucherov, Vasilevsky, Hedman, that your name is not necessarily mentioned in those same conversations, but you are by far one of the top elite players, not just on this team, but in the league? But do you think that because you're on a team with such massive names and superstars that you kind of fly under, not under the radar for our fan base, but other fan bases around the league?
Well, thanks for saying that.
I mean,
I don't know if I necessarily believe it, to be honest. Like those guys are so good and they're so established. They've played so long that, you look at Stammer. He's
Right.
hitting milestone after milestone, 500 goals,
1,000 points,
1,000 points, 1,000 games coming up. So there's lots of reasons to talk about those guys. I just try to do my thing. I don't worry about that stuff too
Sure.
much. I just like playing the game and I like being here. I don't try to do
Modesty alert.
He's
It's going
he's
on.
humble. The humble pie is nice,
but it's true. I don't look at that stuff too much, to be honest. I don't like to read about it or whatever. I just like to play the game. And
Well, I think you are the motor that drives this team.
Agreed.
Personally. And if the NHL had different rules, you'd be going to the All-Star game every single year.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Stubbed, dude.
I just don't understand that.
I don't either.
That's
Especially as of recent, the stuff you've been doing on the ice and it's next level, man. It's video game level stuff you're doing on the ice.
Thank you.
It's trust me, it's noticed by the fans, and we absolutely love what you're doing.
So with your time off for the All-Star break, what are you doing? You have a plan? You just some R&R, or you got
just
playing some golf,
gonna
or-
try to rest up. Yeah, I haven't played golf in a while, so I don't know how my game would be.
I got a great golf story, and you can elaborate way more. But your Billets friend Rick Sears, I remember you telling me the story about Rick Sears.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can go into it a little bit, because I think Rick had been staying away from alcohol for quite a while. Golfed with you. It went so poorly. I think he made him drink.
So poorly. I think so poorly around the 13th.
Oh, he remembers the whole.
I don't know, but it was around then. But the golf cart girl came by and asked what we wanted, and he said, "I'll have a beer."
You threw him off the wagon.
Yeah, I was playing so poorly, and I'm not good by any means, but
Wow.
yeah, that was a tough one. That was a real tough one.
You guys, wow, that's great. You guys just were in St. Louis, and Patty Maroon's son, was playing, and a couple of you guys went over to the rink with Patty. Did he ask you to speak to the kids and give them a little pep talk, so to speak?
Yeah, we did. We went in the room and chatted with the group.
What was that speech like? What'd you tell the kids?
I was asked, what's, the kids asked great questions. They said, like what they said, kind of what's one characteristic that you kind of have to have if you want to be a
Pro level
player.
Sure.
And I can't remember my whole speech, but I basically, it's
Great pair of Crocs.
Yeah, that's right.
Get a solid pair and you're good.
But it's, it's the work ethic, and especially at that age, it's the sacrifices you're gonna have to make to be dedicated to wanting to be better.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to miss some things that maybe other kids would get to go to. And, obviously it's a privilege to play hockey. But I think just it's about putting in your time, and it's about working, and it's then knowing that the work doesn't stop, once you hit a certain point. And, I think Kobe's the greatest example of that.
Well, I remember talking to your dad, and I know a lot of your friends, and the way to describe you growing up was always like this kid was laser focused on what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of universal. That's how they talk about Point,
Sure.
And getting to play with you, I come to realize, like a lot of guys, but even you to a certain level, you were a student of the game. You know, I was saying to Wolfie before, I said, every time I see you on the bench, I see you on the iPad. You know, you're looking over your shifts. You're trying to, like, you know, I'm sure you're trying to figure out what happened that shift, or there's weaknesses, but like, what are you looking at when you're especially in game?
Yeah. I watch that iPad a lot, almost after every shift. So much to the point now it's I come off and
they know
Berger has it
Yep.
Over my shoulder. And really just, what that play looked like, if I had time or not. Sometimes you think you're open in a certain spot, you watch it back and you really weren't. Trying to read what they're doing. And I think for me a big help has been Cooch. Just in, you know, over the last few years, especially, just how he sees the game. You know, I think he sees it better than anyone. And, you know, learning from him is, I mean, he's a great resource, you know, and I think that he has definitely helped me understand the game a little more.
I know we're got to wrap it up here, Pointer, but got to ask, what for you, and again, you know, we feel like you're just now getting into your prime here, but what's been your favorite or your most memorable goal that you've scored so far here as a Bolt?
Well, it's got to be in the bubble.
Yeah.
Ended up being the Stanley Cup game winner, which was extremely cool. You know, you never grow up thinking you're going to do that, and I know it wasn't an overtime or whatever, but it ended up being the game winner, and that's got to be it. I mean, like,
where is that puck?
I don't know.
You don't have it?
I don't know if I have it. I don't know.
Are you a memorabilia guy? Do you like collect sticks and jerseys from
no,
other guys?
I don't. No, I don't. And you know, maybe I should, because I see guys that do that, and it's really cool to have, you know, playing against a guy and getting a stick from a guy that, you know, say like an Ovechkin or someone, you know, that's pretty amazing. So, but no, I don't have much of my own stuff. If I do get it, usually it goes to GP. Yeah. And he puts her in the basement. Yeah. But
a little shrine for
we'll send you like a golden cassette tape of this podcast. And
yeah.
you can start your collection right away.
Right.
Awesome, man. Pointer, listen, we appreciate you finally taking time after 4 years to sit down with us here on the Bolts Block Party, where we finally locked you down. And we wish you guys nothing but success as we go along here post All-Star break. And hopefully we can bring Lord Stanley home, man.
All right.
Thank you, Brayden Point, Bolts Block Party. Appreciate you guys checking in.